Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Okay, seems like everything's working. So let's get started. Oh, do I? Can you see my screen? Could you write something in the chat if you're watching? Right. Hold on a second. I need to hide some windows. Okay. So all right, I'll record on my end as well. So in case live streaming is not working again. So today we're going to build a ticket app, which is basically what we tried to do last week, but for some reasons my stream didn't go live, and yeah, so I'm this week I'm redoing it. So I've already got an example, the whole app built here. So maybe I'll come back to this already built project for reference during the stream. But here we're going to start from scratch. And to start, of course we need to initialize a project. For example, we call it ticket app. And of course, npm init and agree to everything. Oh, sorry. Agree to everything. and yeah, and open it in VS Code. I'm using the insider version of VS Code. And in our project, we're going to use Next.js as the full stack framework, and also Prisma as the database access tool. And we're going to host our database on Heroku, which is free and super cool. And finally, we're going to host the entire app and deploy it onto Vercel or Vercel. I don't really know how to pronounce it. So, so yeah, we have a clean slate. So let's install some dependencies, React DOM. Of course, these are the ones that comes to mind. Let me see. We're also going to use Chakra UI for a little bit. We're not actually going to build a super polished UI, but we're still going to use Chakra UI because I just love that library, and I'm also pretty bad at CSS, vanilla CSS. So yeah, yeah, sure. Let me add a git ignore. Oh, real quick. Right, I'm on macOS. What I usually do is to get macOS and VS Code. I think it's Visual Studio Code and Linux and also Windows. Oh, why the tab key is not working? And just copy paste everything here. I know there's an extension or something for VS Code, but I'm just git ignore. But I'm just too lazy to figure out how it works. So copy and paste. And right. Now we just refresh here. Okay. This is weird. I didn't stage anything. Just automatically stage every. Oh, right. Yeah, I did stage everything. Oh. What a good start. God damn it. Right, I'll just restart. Okay. This happens during live stream. This is weird. Okay. Yeah. And we are going to right, I know what happened, because I didn't have the node modules excluded here, so Linux, Windows, and Visual Studio Code, and the node, of course. I didn't have node excluded. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay. Right. I'll restart VS Code because I use the built-in version control extension a lot. So yeah, this time it's working. I think it's generally more like easier to use than typing commands because I know the keyboard shortcuts to switch to this panel, so it's easier. Yeah, so let's see. Init npm. Okay, we're not going to do a lot of commits this time, and so so yeah, so let's get to the real coding. What we need here is also the yeah, as I said, we need Chakra UI. And for Chakra UI, we need emotion, which it is built on. And we're also going to do some custom CSS in JS stuff. So yeah. And let me see. Yeah, also we're going to use Auth0. So there is an Auth0 package built upon the vanilla Auth0 SDK, which is super easy to use for Next.js. So we're going to install this in our project as well. And of course, emotion theming. And we're going to use Prisma. Right. Oh. Right. I accidentally closed my chat. So I'm not sure if anybody's... Oh, all right. 100 eyes. Thank you for responding. Now I know it's working. All right, let's continue. So where are we? We have this open up. We have all these dependencies installed, and we're also going to install a bunch of dev dependencies. First one is going to be Prisma CLI, and also TypeScript, TS Node. We probably don't actually need TS Node, but I just like to install the whole bunch of things in the ecosystem. So yeah, that's what I always do. There's no reason what we're doing here. Types also React and types React DOM. Oh, right. Typo everywhere. Prisma. Any auto correction for the terminal. All right. So yeah. So we're going to be building an Next.js project. So what we need is the pages directory, and let's just do a simple index page to test if things are working. Default index page, and you can actually just export default index page from here, or export default function, something like that. But I like to do it this way, so it's easier to debug. If later we encounter an error or something, we'll point to the actual function with a name, where anything went wrong. So yeah, I like to do it separately. Yep, and we also need a bunch of scripts. We're not going to do testings here, so just ignore that. Dev is going to be np next dev, and also going to have next build. Right. Yeah, that's basically what we normally need, right? Yeah, of course, next start as well. Start later on. Yeah, we need to start the server, Next.js server. And now we can run npm run dev, and yeah, automatically detected that we're using TypeScript, so tsconfig is generated. Right. And here we are. So now we're going to initialize Prisma. Going to use npm Prisma, npx Prisma init, and this is basically going to give us a Prisma folder. And here we're going to have a schema, empty schema file, where we're going to define our database schema here. And you can notice that we're pulling the database URL from the database URL environmental variable. And this thing is currently defined here inside .env. And it doesn't need to be located here. We can put it anywhere, as long as when we are running, when our Next.js server is running, we have the database URL environment variable set. So I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to keep a copy here, but later on I'll have it elsewhere as well, because we're probably going to use Prisma Studio to debug the database and to see what's going on in the database. And for that, if we don't have the .prisma inside the alongside the schema.prisma file, we'll have to manually point to the .env file we're going to use, which is not very convenient. So I'm just going to leave it here for now. And as promised, we're going to use Heroku. I think I'm logged in. We're going to use Heroku to, oh, I'm not logged in. No. Ah, right, I remember. I log in here. I have too many browser profiles running around. Okay, so this is a profile that I use to share stuff with you guys, so you can't see the auto-complete things that might probably reveal my dark secrets. I also have a ton of other profiles for different purposes. And for testing, actually, it's super cool if you can if you like to use guest profile, because here no extra extensions are enabled. So basically, you won't have ad blocker blocking some elements or like manipulating the DOM or blocking some network requests that might probably make your debugging life a little bit harder. So yeah, we'll debug here. But now let's create a new app. Let's call it awesome ticket app. I'm sure this one is not taken. I'm in Europe, so yeah. And we're not going to deploy our app on Heroku, but on Vercel. We're only going to use Heroku to host our database. And to host our database, we can go to resources. Here we can see add-on, and we're going to use Postgres. So Heroku Postgres. We've got a bunch of options, and hobby dev is enough for us, which is also free. Super cool. Yeah, and here we go. We have it. And click on that button. We're going to be perhaps it's because I'm streaming, so my internet is a bit slow. Not found. All right. And we need what we need here is to go to settings and database credentials, so we can get the URI with the host name and also the username and also the password, also the database name built in. And notice that we have Postgres here, but actually in the Prisma, like in the environmental variable, we have Postgres SQL. Both are okay, but let's just use Postgres SQL. So yeah, because everywhere else is actually using Postgres SQL as the protocol name, but Heroku is somehow different. But anyways, we have it here, and please do not steal this. I'm just this is live, and I'm not going to change anything. Probably I'm going to change this afterwards, but now I'll just leave it as is, and please do not hack me. And this is for the database. And we also have, we also want to use Auth0. And if you sign up a new Auth0 account, it might look like something like this. For example, I'm going to call it awesome ticket app again. I'm sure this one is not used. Cool. No, I'll just sign up, and yeah, just create an account for me. All right, staring at the blank screen. Right. What I like to do is to change the login page to the new one, which is lighter with it looks also nicer. I'm more of a minimalist guy, so I like this better, this layout. So basically what you're going to see is like how this work is going to be like we use the Auth0 library in our Next.js project to handle the login route. And after we, basically it's like when we go to login, APIs /login, this URL, we're going to be redirected to Auth0 and especially to this page, this login page with some buttons and some fields, text input fields. And from there, when you finish the sign up or login, you will be sent back to our app to the callback route. And the callback route is going to handle a couple of more things for us. For example, the user creation on our server side in the database. So in the end, we essentially have two sets of user data. One set is maintained by Auth0. We can have it here. Another one is more like it's in our Postgres database where we can extend and also just work on it. Oh. Right. Save changes. And we'll have a default app here. Let's just remove it for now. Delete default. Okay. And we're going to create a new application. So the way it works is like we are under the awesome ticket app tenant, so to speak. It's more like a project. So in a or it's more like a group where you can have multiple applications going on, and those applications are going to be related to each other. So essentially, we're going to have a same set of user here who can and the users can access the applications within this group or tenant. So yeah. This doesn't really matter a lot for our use case, but I'm going to choose regular web application and call it ticket app, maybe main ticket app. Right, just ignore this. And here we'll have the client ID and client secret. For those, we are going to need to copy everything. Like we're going to need to create a new env here. This is project wide env, and this one is specific to Prisma. And actually, we can just copy and paste this here. But as I said before, we might need to use Prisma Studio and also Prisma Generate, which is also going to Prisma Migrate and everything. And, they're all going to use this database URL, so it's easier to have it inside this folder as well. So we'll need to have auth0 client ID and equal to our client ID auth0 client secret. It's going to be this one, and auth0 domain. This is going to be this one. basically the tenant name and also the region we're at. And also session cookies, session cookie secret, which is going to be used to encrypt the cookies. And for the generation, we can random generation of the secret, we can use OpenSSL. And basically, if you're on a Unix machine, you probably have OpenSSL package installed, and you can just generate a 32-bit random, pseudo-random password or secret that you want to use in any applications this way. And we're going to convert it into base 64 format. And actually we can do it like 128-bit. It's stronger, but it's also longer. Let's just keep it 32. So this is what you get. We can just copy and paste it here. And actually, if we don't convert it into base 64, it's going to be binary. So what we can see is something like this. So I think this is probably a cool trick to share. Yeah, we have all these, and this is pretty much it for this one. And we also need, we can also define other stuff, more other environmental variables like the callback URLs and logout URLs. These are all going to be inside our environment variables, because the Auth0 SDK is going to read those configuration and communicate with the Auth0 server. So yeah, but we would actually those things are not intended to be secret. What we have here is more like a secret, although domain is not really secret, but yeah, these the client ID, client secret, and cookie secret are definitely not something that we want to share with anybody. So in a production environment, we are going to set it inside our build system manually, only once. And yeah, so to read that from the like, if we are running in development environment, we're going to read the environmental variables here from here, and otherwise we're going to read it from the build system. Well, not build system, but the build system will supply will inject those environmental variables into our process.env object in Node.js in our process. So we can use it that way. And in order to make this distinguish separation, we're going to use a handy thing called next.config. We're just going to make it a JavaScript file because I'm pretty sure it only supports JavaScript file. And this thing, I believe this is actually also loaded before any bundling, any building process of Next.js starts. So we can only use the core JavaScript features, but we're going to have let's just require next constants, and this is going to tell us whether this is going to be a dev environment or production environment. So module dot item.exports. This is going to be a function. Is dev equals to, if phase is development server, we're going we are going to, like, this one is going to be true, otherwise it will be false. So now let's return the environmental variables this way. Basically, we'll have redirect URI is going to be, if it's, we're going to use the ternary. Basically, if this is true, then we'll have HTTP localhost 3000 API callback. Otherwise, it's going to be the deployment URL that we are going to have in the future. I'm just going to do ticket app .vercel .app and slash, yeah. Probably ticket app is already taken, so awesome ticket app. So if this is true, we are going to use this one as the redirect URI. Otherwise, we're going to use this one. And we also need post logout redirect URI. The same deal. But we're going to let it be the index page of the app. So basically, if the user logs out, we're going to redirect them to the home page. And also, this is very important. Auth0 scope. This thing basically determines what information we get later on when we like what information we have in a so-called Auth0 session. So if we only have email here, OpenID is a must-have. If we if we only have email here and not have, for example, profile, we are not going to be able to access for example, for GitHub, the username. Perhaps we won't be able to access the username, and maybe the avatar, we might also not be able to access the avatar. So we're going to have profile here, and lastly, we're going to have the server URL. This is going to be easier for us later on, and we when we are going to reference a specific URL, we don't need to do the checking there or write localhost or anything like that. So it's much better this way, I think. I'm going to remove the slash at the end. So, for example, later on we might want to do something like do something like process.env.server URL plus maybe ticket, and this will automatically be resolved into localhost 3000 ticket or the production version of the ticket route. So this is pretty handy. This is what we're going to have here. That are the environmental variables that we need to use dependent on the build phase. There's also staging phase, I believe, with Next.js, but we're not going to use it yet in our project this time. So now we have this, but in order to use Auth0, first let's go back here and actually add the callback URL here. And also this one. And logout as well. And this one. We can actually just leave everything else intact for now. This is not very polished, but it will work. And for the user authentication, we can have the username password method, which is pretty, like, everybody's probably using it. But we can also have social login here. And actually, I would just remove this password username authentication and only rely on the GitHub or Google social login, because that way we'll leverage the, wait a second, I'll just copy and paste this. Yeah. Because this way we'll be able to leverage the spam filtering or robots filtering that's provided. That's basically provided by Google or Twitter or GitHub. Those social accounts, social platforms. And we don't need to actually do any checking if this user used a not actually working email address or something like that. It would just be easier this way. So let me just remove Google as well, because I intend to only use GitHub. Yep. And for now, we're just going to leave the client ID and client secret to the ones that Auth0 provides. And if this is a real app, we're probably going to we'll need to go to GitHub developer and to apply for a client ID and stuff there. Now we'll choose the user here. This will include the user email and also the followers. So basically we have more info about the user this way, and it's not very intrusive. So yeah, I think this, because we're going to use the avatar and everything later on. Okay, so actually photo is already included. Yeah, anyway, I'll leave it this way. Right. It's kind of weird for me to talk to the camera. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool doing live stream here. Right. Now we have this setup. Did I click OK? Yes, I clicked OK. Right. And pretty much that's all the setup that we need to do on the Auth0 website site. And so we are going to configure it Auth0 on our client side. And to do that, we'll need first go initialize the Auth0 with the configuration. So what I like to do here is to create a library path directory and with the auth0.ts file in it. And here we're going to initialize everything. Init auth0 from the auth0 Next.js. Yep. And actually, these environmental variables here and also here can be anything. What matters is to map those environmental variables to the Auth0 config correctly. For example, client ID, going to have here process and Auth0 client ID. We're going to have client secret. Yep. Client secret process dot env dot auth0 client secret. Domain, of course, process domain and post logout redirect process dot basically the same thing over and over again. I'm so tired of typing. This is going to be our callback API, callback URL. And scope going to be dot auth0 session. We're going to have cookie secret set to process dot env dot secret session cookie secret. So the only thing that matters is the mapping here. We can also have maybe just client ID without Auth0. It's totally valid as well. But yeah. So that's basically all we need to do with Auth0. And now, actually we can just see if the if all the environmental variables work. We can do it here. For example, this is basically One cool thing is that we can also use the process.env on the front end here, because those process.env stuff are basically determined before the server runs. So basically what Next.js does here is to look up all the references to process.env stuff in our code, in our front-end code, and replace that with the stuff that we have defined in our environmental variable console dot. For example, let's do this. Do I have? Yeah, I'll just run dev. Start it, and if we start a page here, we should be able to see the auth0 client ID, the environmental variable. Although this is this is on the front end code. So let's just remove this for now. Yeah, I misspoke. Actually, this thing is run on the let's see. Yeah. Oh. Because this is this is still a dev server. So yeah, this actually runs on the backend. So what's the next step? Yeah. I can't think very well without, because this is very new to me, coding and explaining it to a camera. And it's super hot in my room right now. Right, the next step. Yes, the next step is to set up our database. We just killed the dev server for now. So yeah. So what we need to do here is to have. Let me open my notes again. Basically, we're going to have a user, and we're going to have ticket assigned to link to the user. And in Prisma, we can do it this way. The user is going to be a user data model, which is going to correspond to a table in the in a database. And we're going to have some default stuff. Let's make it auto increment, and also mark it as the stuff with the field that we want to use as ID. And as a good practice, we're going to have created at as well. So this is going to have timestamp as the default, and in Prisma we can use these special functions now to supply the timestamp. And also we're going to have user ID, and this one is different than the ID here, because this ID here is internal to our our application. And this ID here is only going to be used for database modeling. And basically, if you are going to create some relations later, we're going to reference the fields, the rows with this field. But the user ID here is going to be a string that is going to be used by auth0. So what auth0 actually does is that it will, maybe I'll show later on. It has a unique identifier for every platform plus the user. So basically, if I have I sign up with the GitHub account, and I will have a unique identifier for myself as GitHub and pipe, and then a string or a number, something like that. And if I also log in to the application with Google, if we have multiple ways of signing up, we'll have Google and pipe and another unique identifier on that platform. So combined, this is going to be a huge string that we're going to use and store here as the unique identifier for so that we can later on fetch the user and just deal with the auth0 stuff easier. So unique, it's going to be unique. And handle is basically username. I like to call usernames handle. And it's also going to be unique. We can get a handle from the auth0 session, basically from the user profile. And name, of course, name is the normal name, and also picture is going to be picture, and also email is going to be everything. Ticket, So then, actually, we can extract all these also into another model called profile. But for the sake of simplicity, we're not doing it for now. But we're going to have ticket here. And our ticket is going to, of course, the same deal. I'm just way too lazy. Oh. Right. And here we have a ticket number. The same thing, like this user ID here, or the handle here. We can actually, like, the ticket number here can be flexible, and we might also want to assign a new ticket number to update the ticket number for a ticket. So this one is for external use, and this ID here is only for referencing, like creating relations, and also for indexing purposes for the database. So we can actually use also use integer here, and for our particular application, this is going to be basically identical to this ID here, but we can also make this string, and maybe instead of default this one, maybe we'll make it optional first and nullable first, then supply the a specific string upon the creation of the ticket. We were building our app using the we were using the Prisma to call the to make calls to the database, but for now we're just going to make it integer. I think I'm not very cohesive, right, when I'm talking. Yeah, I'm not used to doing this, so this is also a practice for me. So thank you so much for watching, and yeah, yeah. So what we need here is to somehow link this ticket to the user, and by that we can we basically need a one-to-one relationship between those two. One user can only have one ticket for now. Maybe later, or if we're building a more more complex app, we might have different kinds of tickets and maybe different years, different events. So a user can have a ton of tickets, but for now we're going to make it one-to-one. And one cool thing about Prisma is that if you have the Prisma plugin installed, which you definitely should have, if you hit the auto format here, will generate the relation for you, and yeah, we can just make it one-to-one. And to make it one-to-one, we can also make it unique. Not only one-to-one, one ticket can only have one user. Like, yep. And one user can only have one ticket. So it's on that side. Okay, so this is basically all we need to do for the data modeling. And actually, we can. I think it's better to have ticket from the other side. Both ways it will work. Either way, but this way, no, let's just reverse it. This is not very important. Where we're going to, like for the one-to-one relationship, this is not very important. So yeah, actually, if you want, we can also give it a name, maybe user has ticket, and if we do this, we'll need to specifically write down the relation as user has ticket here. I'm not going to do it because for the one-to-one relationships relations, and also when it's not very complex, we don't need to assign names that much. And actually, Prisma maintains internally something like there is actually already a auto-generated relation name created for the ticket and user relation here. But yeah. So basically, if we supply a string here, it's just going to override that auto-generated name. Okay, so let's move on. So now we can actually move on to implementing the API routes for the authentication. So definitely we'll need a login, and we'll also need let me just log in and log out and callback. This is what we always need. The code in each of those files are going to be super similar. So first, we're doing TypeScript, so we're going to import the type for the API handler, a Next.js API handler from Next. All right, and const login, and this is going to be a Next API handler of the Next API handler type, and it's going to be an async function that's going to have request. This is very similar to this is basically based on the HTTP module of Node.js, which you're definitely which you're probably familiar with as well if you are an Express user. So okay. Before we try catch, let's just export this default login first. Try block. Let's catch. If we catch an error, we're going to log the error, but at the same time, we're going to if the error contains a status code, we're going to have it. Otherwise, we're just going to set it to 500. And one important thing that I sometimes forget is to end here. So basically, otherwise, the response will not be complete, and the client side will hang on the request. So basically, the client won't receive anything. So a.message. Yep. Right. We're going to await auth0 and automatically import this auth0. Yeah, VS Code is super smart. And handle, we're in the login route, so handle login and request and response. So we won't need to worry about like explicitly writing the response here. Basically, its response is passing to this function, and will it will be used by the auth0 package. It will be used by auth0 to send back the response, which is basically going to be a redirect to the auth0 server with some cookies and also parameters that would like the client ID and client secret. So yeah, we don't need that. We don't need to handle that ourselves. So let me copy this, because logout is practically the same thing, except it's called handle logout. And the same thing with callback, but callback is a little bit different because we're going to supply a callback URL. And handle callback. And we're going to need redirect to API. Let's have redirect to, this one will redirect to another route we are going to have right now called init.ts, and here we're going to grab all the user data from the auth0 session and create the database entry from here. So we need to redirect to everything to API init. I think this is about right. And now, let's close all this. And now for in the init file, we're going to similar thing with the type, but different here. Okay, I just spent a lot of time to save myself from typing 4 lines. But anyways, and here yeah, we'll still need auth0. I don't know why I removed that. Yes, auth0, but this time we're going to use auth0 to fetch the session from the request. And by the way, I'm checking the chat now and then, so if you have any questions, you can leave it on in the chat, and I will answer them when I look at it. Yeah. And of course, we're going to need Prisma as well, because we're going to use Prisma to talk to our database. Prisma, okay, not Primla. I'm scared of typing now. Prisma client. And const, we're going to initialize the Prisma client instance. Prisma equals to new Prisma client. Prisma client. And now we need to actually generate the Prisma Prisma client. So if you're not familiar with how Prisma works, basically Prisma supplies you a CLI that you can use to generate a Prisma client that is tailored to your Prisma schema file here. And that Prisma client will be generated into your node modules directory. So that Prisma client also, it's just basically a lot of very handy types, and also the query engine and everything. So I'm doing a bad job explaining here. So basically, what it does is that it allows you to use this Prisma as a normal object here, as a static object here, but but it will have all the type information that we define in our schema. So later on, you will see that we'll be able to do auto completion and other stuff. It will be super nice to use. Oh my god, I can't talk now. Okay, I'm going to grab some water. And I'm back. My kitchen sink is basically behind my green screen. Okay. Now we are going to let's migrate first, because we are starting a new project from scratch with Prisma and defined the schema here. We don't actually have anything. Let me go back to Heroku. I think this is the one, right? No. Okay, I'll just don't play smart. Okay. All right. We can see it here that we have 0 rows and 0 tables. And what you need to do here is to first let's save a migration. This feature is experimental, and in the next couple of weeks, a new version of migrate will be out, and there will be the workflow might be a little bit different. I haven't actually checked it out yet, but yeah, but that one will be much nicer. But for now, we're going to use our migrate here, the current version of migrate, which is experimental, and we need to supply the experimental flag. All right. I have a firewall. Oh, name, maybe init. And as you can see, we created, it automatically generated a migrations folder, and here you'll see the equivalent SQL commands or SQL commands. To the creation of those tables. And once we have it, we can up, and this will actually push the changes to the database here. See, we have 0 before, and now we have 1 table. All right. Okay. Now let's run Oh, why do I run sudo npx prisma generate? This will generate the client. Yeah, it's super fast. And as you can see, the types in the client, Prisma just generated a tailored a set of tailored types to our project. Oh my god, I can't talk anymore. Right. Okay. Let's move on. Right. So now is the real stuff. So we're going to try catch this. Actually, I never use this. Okay, cool. I tend to use E instead of error. So const, we're going to get the session, auth0 session, await auth0 dot get session from the request. It basically takes the cookies and other stuff from the request, and to I'm not very sure if it communicates with the auth0 server here, or everything is already inside the like saved in a cookie. But yeah. So if we actually yeah, never mind. Session user, go to session. We're going to have session.user. This thing is similar to the process.inf. It's going to be a bunch of strings, a list of strings. So yeah, we can console log this later, so we can see what the user session looks like. But I already know what it looks like, so we're going to use it right away. The sub here is going to be mapped to the to the user ID that we defined here. As I explained earlier, it's basically the unique identifier for the platform plus user that auth0 uses. So this is going to be a string, and session user dot sub, and nickname as well. Nickname is actually the handle or username. Nickname. Okay. Const email. We don't really need email for our app this time, but let's also save it in our database. Name and string session user dot name, and also picture is going to be used as the avatar or profile image picture. So now we're going to query the whether the if the user exists. So if the user like that, we're not that far yet. I think my typing mind and my talking mind work asynchronously. So basically, when I was typing let user, I was already thinking of and talking about the next line, which is going to be the checking. But it's so weird. Await Prisma dot user dot find one, and because the sub here is a unique or the user ID here is a, let me just close this, is a unique field, we can use it in find one. Otherwise we'll have to use find many, and yeah. So the find, like all the API in Prisma, it's super intuitive. For example, this is basically like natural language. I want to use Prisma, and for the users to find one user where the user ID is same to sub, like this, simple like this. And yeah, let me put everything into the same line. Okay, and now we can check if the user doesn't exist. We're going to create a new user by calling prisma.user.create. And create here is going to take in data, and data we can hit control space to evoke the like this menu, autocomplete or suggestion menu from context menu from VS Code. And email, basically we can already, yeah, you can do a shorthand like this, but let's just make things more explicit, more clear by doing this. Handle is going to be nickname, and also name is going to be name, and also picture is going to be picture, and also of course, very important, the user ID to be user ID to be sub. And what we can do here as well is to create a ticket. Okay, I uppercase this here, but this is auto generated to be uppercase. I actually want to have it lowercase, but it doesn't matter that much because basically the cases matter not a lot in database for the field name or for the column names in databases, but yeah, but I'm just going to leave it as is. Yeah. If I'm going to record an egghead lesson or some videos, I might be going to cut all this up and restart from here and rename it to lowercase t and and restart everything, but we don't have to now. So this is a relation. So we are given two choices. One is to connect. Connect is going to be something like using the ID to the ticket ID to connect the ticket, already existing ticket, to our user. But here we don't have the already existing ticket, so we're going to use create. Create, and we don't actually need to supply any data here, although the ticket number or created at both are like user definable and not they are auto-generated because we have default here. I mean, yeah, if we want to do something like ticket number and here, for example, we want, look at this. If I type, like if I use a string here, it will report that this is an error because in our schema, we defined this ticket number to be an integer, and the Prisma client knows this. No, Prisma client actually knows everything, and that is how we got the context autocomplete menu here. Yeah, so ticket number, we can perhaps do something like math.random, something like that, but I'll just leave it to auto incrementing numbers. Cool. So this is going to be the user, and if the user does exist, but we're at the init route, which is redirected to by the callback route, which is redirected to by auth0, which means we signed up or we logged in. So what I want to do here is that I worded it super confusing, but what I wanted to do here is to update our user profile based on the update our user profile in our database based on the session that we freshly got from the from auth0 every time when we log in. So what we need to do here is to await Prisma and user, this time update and where, select the finding clause here. I always want to use my fingers to point lines on the screen. Okay. Where the user ID is equal to sub. Oh, actually we can use user.user ID. And we need data. It's going to have handle, nickname, everything here. We don't actually need this. Or the ticket. So that's it. And of course, we want to have the ticket here as well, because we want to later on create a new route. Let's create it now. It's called ticket and ticket number. So basically this route will be responsible for rendering a ticket visual ticket for us. Okay. Ticket await Prisma dot ticket and find one. This is going to be where the user ID is going to be user.userid. Wait a second. This is weird. Okay, this is a string. Oh, right. Oh, yes. Naming is very important. I named it not very well because this user ID here actually means the auth0 user ID, but this here references to the user ID field. And this is also automatically generated by Prisma extension, so I didn't actually pay a lot of attention to this. So yeah. So it's a bit confusing. We can actually fix this. Yeah, I'm just going to fix it. Because we don't have anything in the production because we don't have anything in the production data store yet, so we don't have to worry about data loss or anything. So let me just redo this. Ticket user ID. Well, maybe this will be auth ID. It's going to be a lot of refactoring going on in a second. And yeah, npx prisma migrate save, and it's going to tell us that some data might be lost. But let's just yeah, we don't have to worry about it for now because we don't have any production data. Migrate up. Yes, I don't care. All right, and next step is to generate the new client, because otherwise this user ID will be referencing to wrong fields. Auth ID. This is weird. It's not assignable. Interesting, what happened? All right, let me. Right, of course. It's lowercase now. I was just about to restart TS server, but yeah, we don't need to. But I still did. Where the auth ID equals to user.auth ID. The user ID equals to user ID. Now it makes more sense. And we can, yeah, let me show you another cool feature of Prisma again, Prisma Studio, which is also experimental. But this is a very nice database explorer that we can use to have a look at the database. Sorry, to see what's going on. All right. Okay, let's just kill it for now. And now we oh. Where are we? Yep. Yeah, of course. Before we do the error handling, in case something goes wrong during this process, we're going to, because we're still in the init route, we're going to redirect the user again back to the actual page that we, actual ticket page that we want the user to see. So this is all backend stuff, and this is not visual. So what we want is to redirect the user back to this ticket number page. So in order to do that, we're going to do right head, basically do a 302 redirect. Location, weird, this is not auto completed. Right, is this? All right, maybe it's not properly typed by Next.js, but it will take a location in an object as an argument. Tickets, and this time we're going to have the ticket number here. And don't forget to actually end the process and send the response back. So for the error catching, we're just going to do very simple console log here. Maybe I should use console error. But console error might, in some scenarios, crash the entire application. So I'm just going to log it here. I'll log the error here. Error.status. And yeah, the same, very similar thing to what we have in the other two routes. Let me just copy and paste. I just hate typing. Okay. Right. Should be E. I'm curious, what is the error? Oh. Yeah, VS Code is way too smart. Way too smart. Much smarter than me. Okay. And that's pretty much it. If we have something here, we will be able to do a demo already. So, ticket page. Right. I think I didn't forget anything. Let's hope it works. Moment of truth. And as I was saying, let's use the guest profile, and right, and let's go to the network tab and preserve the log so we can see it better how the entire process works. So this is the homepage. A lot of Webpack stuff. Yeah, maybe clear it for now. And now we need API login. And API login will send us to this route, this awesome ticket app EU auth0.com authorize this route, this URL with a bunch of configs and somehow. Okay, this is super weird. What happened? I don't even know what happened. Right. Why it's why callback is for now? This is weird. Invalid request. No connections enabled for the client. This is weird. 4 not found. It shouldn't be. Callback. Somehow I have. Okay, now it should work. God damn it. Well, Captain America would say language. Okay, let's try again. No connection enabled for the client. This is weird. Let's Google this real quick. Okay, I might have forgotten something. Passwordless. Authentication verify. That's weird. Anyone watching has any ideas? Invalid request. No connection enabled for the client. I think I do have all this stuff properly. Oh, here. Right. Oh, that's weird. Normally. Yeah, it's true. Main ticket app. Oh, yeah. That's fun. Okay. Starts everything from fresh. And let's just still. Let me restart the guest profile so that we don't have any cache or any cookie. Localhost 3000 API and login. And before we hit enter, let's open up the network tab again. Okay, now it works. We'll be prompted to log in with GitHub. Now I regret running everything in the guest profile because I don't want to type my password here. So let's come back to our normal profile. Yeah, so now I can just yeah, it's not too late. Okay, where's the Now we can continue with auth0 and authorize with auth0. You can also see what kind of data we're going to share because we ticked the profile data tab, read user here, we're going to be able to read the have this access. So right, and accept. Now something is happening on the backend, and we're here. This is awesome. We are finally here. and since we logged out the user session object here, we can see exactly what's happening. So this user session that we get from Auth0 has nickname, picture, name, updated at, and so on. And this sub is what I was talking about. Basically, the platform and the unique ID on that platform. So combined together, it's it's used to identify the platform cross user combo. Okay, so now from now on we can pretty much work on exclusively work on the front end. And for the front end, I won't do a lot of the CSS stuff or the component building stuff, and I'll just copy and paste it from somewhere. But I will show you how to set the project up with Chakra UI, and because there's a little bit of complication here, not complication, but something that you need to pay attention to. So let me see. Yeah, so the first thing that we need in order to use Chakra UI at all is to add is to inject or wrap everything, inject the theme provider or wrap everything inside the theme provider in the app.tsx file. This is underscore app.tsx file. This is a special file for Next.js. And so I need to import React. Actually, I don't think we need to import React because Next.js will do it automatically in the background. But let's just I've already typed that, so and we'll need to export default something called app. So this is basically needed to be okay, let me restart. So we need to export an app component that will return a theme provider. Oh, look how Chakra UI. Yes. Look how smart VS Code is. A theme provider, and normally you can, if you have your own theme, you can supply your theme here, but we're not going to, we're going to use the default theme, so we're not going to do that, but we still need to have the theme provider here. So color mode provider is handy if you want to do something like dark mode and light mode switch. We won't have that feature, but just I'll just write it here. So if later on I commit this everything and push it to GitHub, someone might want to use this as a boilerplate, so it's easier for them to get started. So CSS reset is also very important, otherwise it will be a mess. And here we'll also need the so basically what we did so far is the wrapper, and here we'll need to wrap something, and this thing is going to be a special component called component. And this thing is basically the actual page component that we have, for example, here or anywhere else in a project, because this file is a special file that will sit on top of everything. It's also a good idea to include fonts or special assets or your CSS file here. If you're not using Chakra UI, I mean inside this underscore app.tsx tsx file. So this component, no, it's not a React component, but a Next.js component. And this thing is going to be pulled from here, component. And also we'll need to, because I'm a TypeScript guy, we're going to, let me see. Yeah, app props. This is a special prop. Not special prop, special type for the props, specifically for this underscore app file and specifically for this app component. And if you go to the Next.js example directory, you might see them do something like you might see them using something like the class component instead of the function component that I'm using here. That's definitely valid as well, but I just like to keep everything this way, using a function to render everything. So yeah. So let's move on. And it will also get all the props, page props actually. And we'll spread it here, page props. App props and app is, okay, we'll do it here. So this is how you get started with Chakra UI with Next.js. And now we can copy over a lot of stuff. To copy over stuff, let me go to, what is this? Okay. This is an already built project. I'm just going to copy everything here into our index. So right now it looks like this. That's weird. Okay. Okay, yeah, I see why. Because we redefined the root of the Next.js app will need to restart the server, restart the dev server. Yep, it looks like this. The best conference ever and totally free too. Now, if you click on grab your ticket, you can see on the lower left corner of the screen, we'll go to API login, and that is defined here. So another thing about working with Next.js and Chakra UI together, a small thing is that they both have the link component. So the next link component is used for the dynamic routing and stuff, like for the next router to do its work. But this link here is to make everything into an anchor, into an A tag. So if we remove this one, it will. If we do something like this, if you mouse over this, there won't be the the URL on the lower left corner. So let's do it this way. So if we click on this, we'll be redirected over to login route, and it will check if we are logged in by going to by talking with Auth0, and since we're already logged in, it will redirect us back to callback and redirect us back to init, and redirect us back to ticket number here because it's ticket number 1. Yep. Yeah. So I'll also copy over the. Okay, I'll also copy over the ticket number, this whole thing here to here. Yeah, I changed a bunch of stuff, right? I don't have this yet, but yeah, let me, yeah, I'll need the actual ticket component as well. So, so components, ticket .tsx, and we're going to copy over the ticket as well. Okay. Okay, it actually took me a while to structure everything properly with Flexbox. So, we have it here, and yeah, I also need to, yeah, let's just, yeah, another thing, very cool thing is the React Share library. It's super useful if you want to include something like a share button, social share button, and you can also define what the boilerplate, what the template tweet looks like here. So, okay, never mind. I'm going to install this library first. All right. Now we can, yep. So what we have is going to be something like, right. I haven't started. Wait a second. Why is it still red? Right. Okay, so we need to, yep. So let me write this step by step. So we want to have here is to call in the special life cycle method in Next.js called getServerSideProps. So this is the alternative, modern alternative to the getInitialProps lifecycle method that Next.js used to have. So now we have getServerSideProps and getStaticProps. And getStaticProps is more for like when you're building a static site. So everything is generated on build time. And this server-side props is basically like run before the page is rendered and server-side rendered and served to you. So if we have everything static here, I mean, if we like get all the props that we need to render this page already before the page is ready, get all the data already before everything is ready, we don't need to do any client-side rendering at all. So this way it's much nicer, much more performant. Yeah, I like this way. And you can also use use SWR or React query or libraries like that to, or if you're using GraphQL on your client side, and sorry. And render in the very beginning a loading or a spinner or a skeleton of the page, then use SWR or React query or your GraphQL library to talk with the additional API that you built on the backend, maybe RESTful, maybe GraphQL. But here we're not even going to build a RESTful API for the data fetching. We're just going to fetch everything inside this server-side props. So I think this is very handy, and this is one particular feature about one particular feature of Next.js that I love a lot. And enough explaining. Let's write some code. I can't think very straight, so I have to heavily rely on my notes. Yeah, so you see the props the page is going to get will look like something like this. We'll need a handle, name, picture, and ticket number, all for rendering our ticket UI. So here we have the ticket number, and this is weird. Oh, yes. We just pass everything into the ticket component, which is a bunch of stuff, and uses the ticket number, name, and picture, and everything. So yeah. So this is the front end side. Now the back end side. The back end side will need to identify the ticket based on the route here, the slug here. So we'll have maybe ticket number equals to. Let me do something. Let me cast everything into a number, because what we get from the params is going to be a string, ticket number. So this is the way to get the dynamic route information here, the slug here. Basically, this this ticket NR, ticket number, corresponds to the ticket number. Here's the spelling must match with each other. So yeah, now we can try catch again. And this time, if we get a ticket, await Prisma .ticket .find one find one, and now where the ticket number, this is weird. Wait a minute, do I not have ticket number in my schema? Right, it's not unique. Yeah, so now it's unique. We can search for it with find one. But actually, it's still unique because we're going to everything is automatically auto increment. So when we have the second user, it will be assigned to number 2 here. And if we somehow remove the first user and then add a new user, the new user will still use the number 3. So basically, the database has an internal counter for all the auto increment things. So yeah, so actually it's still unique because we can also use that for as an ID. But for Prisma client to know it's a unique field, where we need to either have ID here or the or unique here. Does that make sense? I'm terrible at explaining stuff today. Okay. Anyways, I don't because I already have something in my database. I don't want to make further modifications here, so we'll use find many, find many, and where the ticket number is the ticket number, and this is actually going to return us a bunch of ticket, an array of only one entry. So one workaround is to always put the number 0, index 0 from this array. Okay. Right. All right. So when we already get a ticket, so if the ticket is null, we'll return props with an error code. Error code 404. Else we'll return. We don't need to else, but anyways, we'll get a user by the ticket. Await Prisma.user.find1. This time it's find one. Find one where the ticket ID, I guess. Yeah, ticket ID equals to ticket. No. yes, this ID equals to ticket dot user ID, and that's it. This is how we get a user. Because this is a mandatory, like a not nullable relation between those two, we can pretty much guarantee that if we have a ticket, we also have a user, so we won't be checking if the user is null here anymore. So if everything checks out, we're going to return the props, and this time we'll have a data. This is, by the way, very arbitrary. We can call it anything that we want. We can call it make it flat or anything. It doesn't have to be error code either. But here you must return something that has a prop in it. Okay. So data and data handle, and handle is going to be the user. Oh, Emmet is too down here. Okay, name. I hate Emmet sometimes. User.name and picture. Yeah, we can. What the heck? Ticket number equals to ticket number. This ticket number is special. It says ticket number here. So, yeah, that's it. Now, of course, handle the error. Message, or just log the entire error out. If there's anything else that goes wrong, we'll return an internal error, error code 500, and we don't necessarily need to pass this thing, like tell the user explicitly what goes wrong, what has gone wrong in a data in our server side, because that might be a security issue, because the user might be able to have a better idea how our database, how our backend works. It's better to just tell the user, oh, something's wrong on the server side. And one cool thing about Next is that, sorry, I have to grab some water. And I'm back again. Yeah. So one cool thing about Next is that it has an error page, and you can just, it's a template. You can just pass in an error code, and it will show you an error page. Okay, I'll show you guys in a second. Okay, I think this is pretty much this part. So run dev, start everything. Start everything, and yeah, so this is how it looks like. Pretty cool, huh? Very simple. What I meant was, if you have something like ticket 4, it doesn't exist, so it will show you something like this. And if somehow there's an issue about with Prisma, with our database, if there's anything wrong, this page will render as 500. Right. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, let me see the error code. Okay, so it still returns 200 here. But the content is a 404. So we still need some work to make it render 404 instead. But that's kind of outside our scope here. But I would do is to, instead of returning props, we're going to use like you have params here, but you also have a request and response. So you can, when an error occurs, you can do something like maybe response, then right head, then 404, then redirect to something. Or Next.js also, let me recover this. Next.js also have custom error pages. Redirect, yeah. So this is probably Joel. Oh my god, I probably set a privacy to unlisted. That's weird. Yes, it is unlisted. Okay, I hope this is not too late. Thanks for pointing it out. I just set it to public. Okay. Yeah, I hope it now it's reachable from YouTube or from the outside. All right. Anyways, let's continue. We still have deployment to do later. Yeah, for next time. Thanks. Right. I think everything is also recorded because I recorded here locally on my machine, and YouTube should also be recording this. So yeah, but I might need to edit this live stream a lot for it to save people a lot of time when I'm mumbling random stuff and stuttering. Okay, where am I? All right. So this is about the custom 404 page. I'm not going to handle that for now. Let's just render a 404 as a 200. That's for another time. So this is actually pretty much it for the application. We can, let me just clean everything. Right, everything is cleared. And also delete myself from here. And also, let me use the Prisma Studio experimental. Let me use Prisma Studio to remove this entry here. As you can see, we have an entry here, and also we have a ticket as well. And ticket has ticket number 1. So this is Prisma Studio. Pretty cool. And yeah, we are going to okay, yeah, of course. Delete, change. I see. So this is not cascaded. So so this is interesting. I haven't actually tried deleting anything. So as I understand, we don't actually support cascade. Cascade. Yeah. We don't yet support cascade delete. So let me. Yeah, I'll just ignore this. It should still work. Otherwise, I need to. Okay, maybe let's write a tester. TS. I always name my testing files. Yeah, I always name my testing files to tester, because if it's test, then it might be picked up by some test suite that I might use at some point. But this here is basically where I just want to do some random doodling. So let me just I'm way too lazy to type anything. Okay, and also delete delete many, basically delete everything. And also the ticket. Actually, I'm not very sure if this is basically the same as, yeah. So let me see. What are these? Very many. Yeah, cascade delete is planned, and there's actually a GitHub issue. Yeah, I digress. Yeah. Right. Let me just ignore this. It's getting a bit out of time, and so yeah. So basically, what I did so far is that I cleared up everything, and let's start fresh. So I can show you how to deploy this. Then I can show you how to deploy this. Yeah, execute raw is working. Yeah, delete db also works. But yeah, let's restart it. So we have and sign up, accept, and we're here. So this is our ticket, and everything works. Now let's move on to deployment. For deployment, we're going to use Vercel or Vercel, or I have no idea how to pronounce this. But one way to do this is to actually use Git, and it's always a good idea to use Git. For example, ticket app. Awesome ticket app, not a normal ticket app. Okay. Awesome. Yes. And we're going to, first of all, here, and also everything low. I'm just kidding. Implement everything. I'm just kidding. Let's just keep it simple. Implement everything. Okay. Yeah, you actually before that you need to double check if you actually have .env ignored in your Git repository. So okay. Git push again, or my favorite, click on this button and it will be synced. Okay, implement everything. All right, now we can head to Vercel and log in, of course, and import project. Basically import Git directory, and here I'll copy the link. And that's almost it. It will automatically detect that we're using Next.js. And we don't need to override the build or output settings, but the environmental variables should be added because we don't have it committed to our Git repository. So the build system has no idea what we have here. So let's get started. Database URL, copy and paste. This will be encrypted. Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Copy and paste, still copy and paste. Okay, everything's encrypted. Okay. Now deploy. It will take a few minutes. Maybe not a few minutes, but like a few seconds. And by the way, you can have a .nvm, okay, nvmrc file here, and commit this file to Git, and here you have the Node.js version that you like to use. So if you want everything to be actually working on the, if you want everything on the build side, on the deployed side, work exactly the same as your development side, you can check what version you're running, what node version. I'm not actually running the latest version. I think the latest version is 12.18.6 or 4 or something. But yeah, so that is one trick. Congratulations. And it should work. Right? Yes, it works. It took a few seconds, but it works. And I can log out and grab a ticket again. And because logout calls the logout route, and all the cookies will be cleared or invalidated. So yeah. So as I mentioned, we also added. Where are you? Added this Twitter share button using this React share library, pretty cool library. So basically, when we click on this, we'll be redirected to Twitter with a pre-composed message. I'm going to let's see. Oh, what's happening? Actually, I think my app has a huge security bug. This page can be accessed by anyone. So basically, I'm actually not checking if the user has valid cookies here, but that can be done here. So let me try to add this real quick. Request, and we'll use the auth0 again. Await auth0.getSession based on the request, and session equals to user session equals to this, and if user, how did I name these things? Yeah, that's not a feature. That's right. That is a feature. Yeah, you can share your tickets. Yeah, that is actually a feature. So maybe I should hide this logout button if we like. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's something I forgot, but I still can. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll have something like right. How did I name these things? It's important to have a naming convention. Yes, right. Okay, so if we get this, try ticket right. Before anything, if session user dot sub is not there, we're going to return no. We're going to have it here. We still need the data information to render the page, but we just want to hide the logout button. That would be we need it here. So if such then maybe right, let's be even more unclean. So logged in, no, logged in, this is basically a boolean. so we'll also add something logged in boolean, logged in. Yeah, right. So let's do some conditional rendering. Logged in. Wait a minute. Is this logged in or not logged in? If it so if yeah, logged out. If it doesn't exist, it should be logged out. Log in. Okay. Now replace everything. Logged out. Logged out, logged out, logged out, logged out. Yeah, if it's logged out, if it's not logged out. Okay, we'll just do this. If it's not logged out, then we'll do this. Okay. Okay. If we have the dev server running, yeah, I know double negation is bad in my brain too, but I can't think. It's logged in, yeah. That's definitely better, but I can't think straight right now. If nobody's watching, maybe I can do it better and more clean. It's logged out. Okay, let's hope it works. Okay. This is not a clean profile, so probably you will see my history. Yeah, this is logged out, and if we're not there, ticket. Right. This is cannot read property to the user. No, definitely. Because this session, we don't have the session, right? So we don't even need this line. Basically, if the session doesn't exist, where's the session? Yeah, no, if the session doesn't exist, we don't even need to check if the if the username exists. Right, now it should work. Yeah. Great. So another commit. It is longer than 50 characters already. Okay, so patch everything awesomely. Okay, that is the commit. And when I push it here, Vercel will be notified, and it will automatically start a build, start a new build on our latest version. So yeah. Another thing about the Next.js build log is that you can see how many pages are, which pages are Lambda routes, Lambda functions, or basically just the API routes and serverless functions, or which pages are static, and which pages are statically generated. So we don't actually have any of those pages. This is probably when this is going to happen a lot when you're going to see this a lot if you are building a blog or something like that. Okay, so that is cool. Okay, now if we go to our app, we can see this. Grab the ticket. Oh, yeah. Let me clear all the cookies real quick. Right, clear cookies again. Okay. Three, two, one. Right, it works. And let's copy this page, log out, and visit this page without logging in. Everything works. This is our deployment URL. And that's it. I think this wraps everything up for today. And it's way longer than I thought. It took way longer than I thought. Yeah, thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see each other next time. And actually, I like to stay here for another like 5 minutes or so if anybody has any questions. I mean, we don't have a lot of current viewers right now, but yes, if you have any questions, just write in the chat. I will answer them. Good night. See you tomorrow in Slack. Okay, so I think that will be it. And everyone has a great morning, afternoon, evening, and signing off.